I'm a huge Ys fan, so much so that I made a video months ago to help folks who've never heard of the series get up to speed and enjoy Adol's bizarre shipwrecking adventures. So when Ys 10 Nordics released in Japan, of course I bought it. I wasn't about to wait for NIS America to translate it in a few years. I did the same with Ys 9 before that. Am I fluent in Japanese to fully understand everything? Hell no. I can barely deal with katakana and hiragana and a few kanji. But I've been studying for a little while, so my hearing comprehension is improving, and I can pick up the gist of most spoken conversations, and even some of the written ones. But it's Ys, it's Adol Christen. So even if I didn't understand a single thing, I would still play the hell out of this game, and then wait for the inevitable translation to better grasp the story. Ys 10 takes place immediately after Ys 2, and before Ys 4, aka Memories of Silseta, while Adol is on his way out of Esteria and on his way to the Great Forest. I know what you're thinking, he's shipwrecked somewhere. But no, Ys 10 instead has Norman, aka Viking pirates, attack him and then take the ship and all of its passengers to a nearby island where our story starts. There, Adol picks up a mysterious seashell and hears the voice of a lady in trouble, as usual, who asks for his help and grants him the power of mana, which allows him to defeat the enemies of this game, the Grieger, creatures who regenerate endlessly unless struck by mana-powered weapons and abilities. I won't spoil big things, but eventually Adol becomes a shield brother to Karja, a Norman warrior princess, and the two head on their adventure together across Obelia Bay. One thing that is worth noting though, is that our boy Adol finally speaks. He has the typical voice reactions to finding treasures and such, as seen in Lacrimosa of Dana and Monstrum Nox, and more often than not you pick from a couple of options for his dialogue, but you don't hear him say anything. But there are a few cutscenes where the choice is followed by the voice actor delivering the line, which is a bold new step for Ys after decades of Adol's thoughts and opinions delivered in those Adol explained things text boxes, which are still very much present. Ys 10 is the closest thing the Ys series will ever get to Assassin's Creed Black Flag. You have a big area of sea to explore and a ship to do so, but it's an Ys game, so it's got its own mechanics for sailing. You can just move the ship around and push a button to dash with your ship, and eventually get onto different currents on which your dash regenerates instantly. But before you get there and unlock that, the ship part is a bit slow. The upside though is the sheer number of things to find, from islands to explore to ocean life to watch through your telescope, and random merchants and other ships. It may be a vast open ocean, but it doesn't mean the only people on it are your crew and your enemies. Ship combat is actually kinda decent, and replaces the tower-based defense from the previous games. You now board ships and fight off waves of enemies, or attack sea bases and do the same. The best part of these is that they're a mix of naval combat and regular hack and slash fights, so if you're not a fan of the naval stuff, you have a reward of a fun fight afterwards. You can even unlock and equip different kinds of weapons for your ship that not only do damage, but add a variety of negative conditions to enemy ships. While on foot, you run, you dash, and you find items and abilities to help your exploration. So basically the standard Metroidvania-esque thing that Ys does so well. I don't want to give away too much, but you get the equivalent of a Back to the Future style hoverboard and a hookshot equivalent too. It's super fun. Fishing is back of course, and works more or less the same as before, though with a nice quality of life improvement in telling you which of your baits is the one that will yield a new fish for your collection. There are also recipes to find, and dishes to cook, and you get both the ones sitting in your inventory for use in combat, and the ones you make while on your ship and provide you with a buff for a little while. In terms of items, the same potions and poultices from the previous two games are back, working exactly the same. You spend them and then keep the bottle to refill. But the ingredients needed are far easier to obtain, which is really good. Speaking of which, there are still crafting materials to collect, but so far I've found that there aren't as many types as in, say, Lacrimosa of Dana. Not only that, but you can use your resources as currency in some of the stores, which is something I really like. I regularly explore every inch of an island or a dungeon and collect a lot of resources, like plants and monster bones and such, and it's great that I can use them to buy my gear and other items instead of spending hard cash, which I tend to spend fairly quickly. In the past 2 entries of East, Lacrimose of Dana and Monstrum Nox, there's a community building aspect, and it's back in East 10, though it's different, as the people you gather become members of your crew, and their presence leads to new merchants, new items, new facilities, and increases in stats to the ship itself, which I found to be a really nice idea, especially since every new crew member has 1 or more upgrades that you can spend materials on, while also giving you quests from time to time to collect new stuff or unlock further enhancements. Much like previous East games, you can both buy and improve your gear, but they only provide bigger numbers with no visual changes on Adol and Karja. I find that slightly disappointing. I really like to see my new weapons, especially when the icons they have on the menu look so good. On the upside, Adol and Karja do look nice in their outfits. Combat has undergone changes, and they've taken a bit of getting used to, but I really like them. Your combat skills now come in 2 flavors: Solo, which are your normal SP consuming skills, and Combination, which are skills you perform with Karja. They consume SP on both characters and deal a significantly larger amount of damage. Learning skills has also changed. In the past couple of games you learn them as you fight. Now they're both tied to your level and have another skill as a prerequisite. You need to fully master a skill, meaning getting its XP up to 100% before the next one in the chain unlocks. The skills are all fairly good, and the unlocks are amazing. There's a skill that lifts enemies in the air, and the one it unlocks is similar, but not only more powerful, but deals fire damage in an area. This new skill tree or chain also means that skills only have 1 level. In terms of your defense, that's where the biggest changes are. Dashing to dodge and blocking are still in, but they work very differently. You can always dodge attacks, but the super skill point regeneration slow-mo thing is gone. Instead, there are blue colored coded attacks, most of them ranged, that if you properly dodge them, then your sword gets charged and you can do a swipe for higher damage. Blocking or parrying, depending on how well you do it, increases the value of a new mechanic called the Revenge Gauge. The maximum number on that gauge starts at 2, but you can get items to increase that value. The Revenge Gauge multiplies the damage of your next combination skill. So if you parry successfully and hit that max revenge value, your next combi skill will hurt a lot. There are fights that very much depend on this. Fortunately, enemies also have red color-coded attacks that you are meant to parry, and if you do, you get max revenge instantly. What I really like is that nailing that perfect block at the last moment doesn't just give you the big revenge value, it also pushes the enemy back and allows you to do a follow-up lunge that deals increased damage. Adol and Karja also have their own unique elements. Adol has fire and Karja has ice, which you can unleash by holding your attack button and charging up their elemental attack. It's nice for combat, but the main use is in exploration to burn away obstacles or create icy platforms on the water. The biggest change though, and you may want to sit down for this, the extra skills are gone. Yeah, I know. The combination skills plus Revenge Gauge now replace them. Not only that, but if you perfectly parry or dodge a boss's attack, you may get a prompt to initiate a special maneuver, where Adol and Karja do one of their combination skills with a special over-the-top animation and big damage. So far, I've only seen it happen on the first time you block or dodge an enemy's attack, and yes, if there are multiple enemies, you can get one for each, and sometimes when bosses are on death's door, as a special move to finish the fight with a bang. I miss the extra skill, granted, but the parry, revenge, and combo skills have their own distinct flavor and rhythm that I really enjoy, and it feels really good when you get max revenge from a good parry. On the other hand, I've tasted dirt more often than not because I mistime the parry and get my butt whooped, but that's normal. Worth mentioning though is that in certain situations, your ship gains extra skills, but instead of a special attack, it's more of a case of your different weapons getting a big boost. The last big addition to gameplay though is a new form of character progression, where you unlock slots in which you can place what the game calls mana seeds. These are very much like stat boosting quartz found in the Trail series. Some of them boost attack, defense, luck, but others also impact your playstyle, changing your attack pattern. As you progress, you find better ones and you can upgrade the weaker ones. It's a great way of min-maxing the characters to fit your playstyle. Not only that, but some of those slots unlock new skills. I very much like to go full aggro with Adol, so most of his bonuses are on attack, while I use Karja more defensively, so I boost her defense and vitality, which increases her health. That way she's both my tank and my Adol resuscitator, since when a character drops, you can hold the button with the other one to bring them back at the cost of half their current HP. It's a neat system, and I've survived boss fights without potions because I keep bringing Adol back with Karja, until, they both have but a sliver of health. So far, I haven't found any resuscitation potions. I've played close to 20 hours of East 10 Nordics, and I feel like I'm just getting started. I think I've met major villains, but there are still so many mysteries to uncover, and I think more mechanics and changes to see. In the meantime, I hope this gives you an idea of what to expect with East 10. There are new things, old things, and generally speaking, a whole lot of good things. So if you liked this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps more than you know, and as I continue with the game, I'll deliver more information on East 10, maybe a review when I'm finished. See you on the next one, and well, happy shipwrecking adventures.